The self is nirguna, means it's without qualities. It's nirvikalpa, means it's without concepts, without objective phenomena. It's one. This means that the entire objective field, the entire field of phenomenal objects is Maya or illusion. It's fiction. Some of you will have the fortune or the ability or the discernment to see the truth in this. Some of you may struggle to see the truth of this. Some of you may think this is wrong. This is not a good teaching. This is a teaching of denial. This is a teaching of denying our humanity and denying the reality of the world. What I would say to those of you who are feeling, if any of you are feeling that, is contemplate the nature of liberation. Think about what is liberation. Think about how all the scriptures and all the genuine spiritual teachings and teachers say that liberation is that which is completely devoid of suffering. And think to yourself, how is it possible for suffering to end? And if you think about it diligently, you will come to the conclusion that the only possibility, the only way suffering can end is if this entire objective field is illusory. Otherwise, suffering will not end if it's real in some way. Because there's just too much stuff going wrong in the world. And there's too much stuff that can go wrong from that worldly point of view. The only possible way suffering can actually come to an end is if this entire world is an illusion. We can discover the truth of, you don't have to believe this world is an illusion. You can discover the truth for yourself. And you can do that by following the path that Guru Ramana has so clearly and so elegantly, so concisely, so beautifully laid out for us step by step. So no faith is required. You can discover it all for yourself. But when you discover the reality, the you that was interested in looking will not be there anymore. because that's the ego. That's a part of the illusion. And all that will remain is what Ramana calls the leftovers. The self. When you've removed everything, when you scrubbed everything, when you scrubbed away all the impurities, all the flaws, all the defilements, what's left is what cannot be defiled, what cannot be flawed, what cannot be removed, which cannot come and go. If something comes, that means it was born. If something goes, that means it dies. So it cannot be born and it cannot die. It's the essence. People often said to Ramana, this is a anti-human teaching. This is a denial type teaching. This is an escape type teaching. And Ramana said something, and again, this is recorded in Guru Vajrakakova. I think it's within the first 300 verses, maybe around the 300 mark, somewhere around there, of Guru Vajrakakova. Ramana says, these are the people that have not discovered the self. They have not discovered the profound treasure that is the self. To an ignorant person, to a person who considers themselves, remember, ignorant person is not a derogatory phrase. It's a descriptive phrase for the purposes of teaching. For an ignorant person, what they would consider liberation to be darkness. And what they but for a liberated person, so an ignorant person, when you describe liberation to them, they just think that's like a nothing. I don't want that. But to a liberated person, the world is darkness. The liberated person doesn't want that because they've discovered themselves. Again, this is that verse in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. I think it's chapter 2, verse 69. It says something like, to the wise, what is daytime for the wise is nighttime for the ignorant. And what is daytime for the ignorant is nighttime for the sage or for the wise. And Bhagavan says these people who say that this is a anti-human teaching have not discovered the abundance, the sheer abundance and joy that lies within. It's like somebody's trapped in a dream and you're telling them to get out of the dream. You're trying, and it's not a dream, it's a nightmare. Let's say it's a nightmare, just to make the metaphor work better. Say somebody's trapped in a nightmare and you're trying to get them out of the nightmare. This is one of the interpretations of that film, Inception. I haven't seen the film in a long time, so I might be remembering it slightly wrong. I'm sorry if I'm spoiling it. But in that film Inception, there is one of the storylines, I believe. By the way, I can't remember how old this film is. Well, it's over 10 years old, isn't it? So, spoiler alert. In case anyone hasn't seen it and they want to see it. But I think one of the plot lines is that the main character, who I think is played by Leonardo DiCaprio, we're led to believe that, I think, that his wife committed suicide. That she went crazy and then she committed suicide or something like this. It doesn't matter if I'm misremembering it. It's the analogy that matters. But what is hinted at towards the end of the film is that actually Leonardo DiCaprio is stuck in a dream. And his wife was trying to convince him to sort of kill himself in the dream in order to escape the dream and wake up. And what she did was actually she escaped the dream or the nightmare. And from Leonardo DiCaprio's point of view, she committed suicide. And she went crazy. But from her point of view, we can infer she was the sane one, and she managed to get out the dream. She managed to liberate herself. We can say, but just to extend the metaphor further than the film intended, we can say she destroyed her ego and realized the self. Now, if we let go completely, totally completely, if we surrender, we discover this as well. We come to, our surrender eventually becomes nirvikalpa, nirguna. We recede into the self.